we will see how to read NCERT in order to get the full marks in biology. You will find a lot of the question from this paragraph. Platelets and these, injured tissue will secrete this thromboplastin. In presence of calcium will activate prothrombinase, which is present in our blood, and then it's forming the solid network of the thread condition. So a lot of the complicated thing is given in this paragraph. Hello, my dear lovely students. So today we will see how to read NCERT in order to get the full marks in biology. Yes. So today I'm just going to share all the tricks with you and that you have to follow throughout the year in order to get the full marks. Let's see all the tricks. Or let's see how exactly you have to read NCERT, because you cannot skip it, as you know that NCERT is super important. So let's see, this paragraph is from the body fluid and circulation. So they have given this whole paragraph about the blood clotting. And if you will see the, 21, 22, 23, 24 question paper, previous year NEET question paper, you will find a lot of the question from this paragraph. So first of all, you have to change this paragraph into the flowchart form. So this is the mechanism of the clotting factor. So whatever is written over here, after reading this whole table, you would be able to, whole flowchart, you will be able to understand each and every line nicely. And then you go back to the previous year NEET question, you will find everything super easy, right? So this is how you have to write all the information in the flowchart form so that you would be able to remember the things for the longer time in an easiest way. So kids, let's see mechanism of blood clotting, and they have asked many questions from the in the NEET exam paper from this topic itself. So when we have injury, injured tissue exposed, platelets are also exposed to the air, right? So what will happen? They will secrete platelets, and these injured tissue will secrete this thromboplastin. So thromboplastin is the factor. Although we have a lot of the factor, like 12 factors, clotting factors, which will be activating throughout the blood clotting, but we have to mention only the important factors that's given in NCERT. Okay, kids? So thromboplastin, which is the coagulation promoting factor, in presence of calcium will activate prothrombinase, which is present in our blood. So it is inactivated, right? So pro means it is inactivated enzyme. So prothrombinase into the thrombokinase, right? So thrombokinase is the other factor, activated factor in the blood itself. So blood clotting is the chain reaction. In that whole paragraph, they have given all these things, which you have to remember. So at this stage, heparin, which is the anticoagulant, which prevent the blood clotting in our body, gets inactivated, right? So we can see it's inactivated at this stage. Now thrombokinase in presence of calcium will activate other factor in the blood, prothrombin to thrombin. So pro again inactivated, and it's vitamin K. It's vitamin K is required to form the prothrombin in the liver. So yeah, it is produced by the liver with the help of vitamin K, right? So that means it is converted, it is activated into thrombin. Now again, thrombin in presence of the calcium ion convert fibrinogen, which is the other inactivated factor, which is soluble in the blood, into the fibrin. And fibrin is the insoluble fibrous thread, right? So it's like insoluble thread, fibrous thread. And we have other factor, that is the fibrin stabilizing factor. And this is the last factor. So fibrin stabilizing factor will, what exactly it will do? It will form the network of the thread. It will do the polymerization of the all threads like a bandage. So bandage are like network of the threads. No, so same way, natural bandage is also network of the fibrin, and fibrins are nothing but the fibrous thread, right? So polymerization will happen, natural bandage will be formed due to this factor stabilizing factor, which is present in our blood. And what will happen next? This network of the thread will trap all the blood, RBCs and platelets. So yes, it's kind of bandage. It's just, trapping all the RBCs and the WBC platelets to ooze out. And then it's forming the solid network of the thread like a bandage known as clot, coagulum, which will prevent the loss of the blood. So this is how you have to remember the whole thing that's given over here. So now your homework is you will be reading this whole paragraph of the coagulation of blood and just comparing it with the whole flowchart that I have drawn. And you will see that how calcium is important at every point, why vitamin K is important, because one factor is made up of the vitamin K itself. And you will see, sometime in exam, they will be like, to convert thrombokinase from the prothrombinase, which factor is required? Thromboplastin. So this type of question you will see in the NEET exam, right? So this is how you have to convert your NCERT in easiest way, and you have to, write down all the important data in this form itself. So second concept I'm taking from the breathing and exchange of gases. Let's see. So if you read this whole paragraph, they are talking about the oxygen dissociation curve. Oxygen dissociation curve, this curve, right? And this is showing the relationship between the partial pressure of oxygen and percentage saturation of hemoglobin with oxygen. So that means what is the partial pressure of oxygen and to saturate, to bind with the hemoglobin. Saturation means to bind with the hemoglobin. So as you can see this red graph, right? You can see this red part. So this is the normal relationship of the partial pressure of oxygen with the percentage saturation of hemoglobin. So that means to bind 60% hemoglobin, to bind 60% hemoglobin with oxygen, we require this much oxygen. That means approximately 30 mmHg oxygen. This should be the partial pressure of oxygen. To bind 100% hemoglobin with oxygen, we require at least 90 mmHg oxygen, right? So this is about the saturation curve, right? So we will see in the whole paragraph, they have actually indicated in the whole paragraph. If you read this paragraph, they have indicated that how oxygen is basically required, or the concentration of the oxygen required to bind with the oxygen, bind with the hemoglobin, right? And this whole relationship is between the oxygen and hemoglobin binding. So we will see that this curve is known as oxygen dissociation curve, where exactly oxygen get dissociated from the hemoglobin. What are the conditions that is causing the dissociation, means breakdown of the hemoglobin from the oxygen, and which factors causing the association of oxygen hemoglobin. And this curve is S-shaped. So yeah, it is the sigmoid curve. So see, they have asked question from these points. You have to study it very, very nicely, right? And this dissociation graph is the relationship between, so they have already written this is the relationship between the oxygen and this percentage saturation of hemoglobin with oxygen, right? And you see that in this graph, sometime in the body left shift is seen and sometime right shift is seen. So what is left shift and right shift? So you just see that when the graph shifted to left, so in that condition, suppose 50% hemoglobin, it represents the percentage of hemoglobin bind with the oxygen. We require less oxygen, that means 20 mmHg oxygen. Same, when we talk about this red color graph, which is given in our NCERT, so to bind with the 50% hemoglobin, we require this much oxygen, means more oxygen. And in the right side, whenever we are going towards the right side, we require more oxygen, partial pressure more, approximately we require 48 mmHg partial pressure in order to saturate 50% hemoglobin towards the right shift, right? So one thing is clear to us, that in the left shift, even in the less concentration of oxygen, even in the partial pressure of, even when the partial pressure of oxygen is approximately 30 mmHg or 20 mmHg, it's still binding with the 50% of hemoglobin, right? But here, when we move towards the right, we saw that, again, to bind with the 50% hemoglobin with oxygen, we require more oxygen here. So more oxygen is required, means hemoglobin is actually not liking the oxygen, or they are just dissociating. They are like breaking up. And in the left side, they means they are just, they are doing the friendship. They are patching up, right? So let's see, kids, when see this paragraph, they are like this dissociation. Dissociation means their break, right? Their breakup. That means breakup is happening here in the left right shift, indicating their heartbreak, and or breakup, and left shift indicating their patch up, right? So it's kind of this story, and is highly useful in studying the effect of the factor like partial pressure of CO2, hydrogen ion concentration, binding of oxygen with hemoglobin in the alveoli. So they have just given the conditions. So a lot of the complicated thing is given in this paragraph. So you have to simplify it in this way. So the concept of left shift and right shift. So that means even in the less percentage of oxygen, 50% hemoglobin bind with the oxygen, means hemoglobin like the oxygen. But here, even in the 50% oxygen, hemoglobin, even with the 50%, 50 mmHg oxygen, only 50% hemoglobin is saturated. That means hemoglobin doesn't like oxygen, right? So we will see where exactly this left and right shift is seen, right? So left shift, actually in the left shift will be seen L for left, L for lungs, in the lungs. So it occurs in the alveoli of the lungs, as simple as that. And when we talk about the right shift, it's happening in the tissues. Let's see why. Because partial pressure of CO2 in the lungs is less, you kids know, and in the tissues, CO2 is more, because we know that cellular respiration happening in the tissues. Oxygen is utilized to break down the glucose into CO2 and water. So in tissue, at the tissue site, more CO2 is there, but here we have less CO2, right? Same way, when we talk about the partial pressure of oxygen, it is very less in the tissue and it is very high in the lungs. When we talk about the pH, so pH, in the tissue area, if the condition is acidic, here the pH is high. And obviously it is impacted by hydrogen ion. So hydrogen ion is more because it's acidic, and hydrogen ion is less over here. So when you see that paragraph, they have talked about all the condition that is present in alveoli, and what is these factors means when partial pressure of CO2 is less, when partial pressure of oxygen is high, pH is high, hydrogen ion is less. And when we talk about the temperature, so because in the tissues metabolic reaction happening, so temperature is high, here temperature is less. So all these factors which is happening in the lungs, in the alveoli, promote their association, means hemoglobin liking oxygen and patching up with it, right? So they are associating with each other in the alveoli. But when we talk about the same condition in the tissue area, so in the tissue what's happening? Dissociation means hemoglobin breaking up with the oxygen, and it's like you just go away. All these factors are villain of the story. So these villains means when the CO2 is high, it's villain. When oxygen is less, it's villain. Because in the tissue area, we know that all these conditions are there, right? CO2 is very high, oxygen is very less, because oxygen is utilized by the tissue to break down glucose to form CO2. And we know that hydrogen ion is more, pH is less here, temperature is very high because, metabolic reaction happening at the tissue. So all these conditions are villain of the story. So kids, these are the villain of this story, and hence they are like oxygen, they are like dissociating oxygen from the hemoglobin. They're trying to break them up, and this breaking up will leave the oxygen, and this oxygen again utilized by the tissue. So kids, this breakup is really important for us to alive. If this oxygen, if they will not dissociate, if they will not do the breakup, how come our tissues will get oxygen for the cellular respiration to produce energy? And that's why we are alive. So thanks to these people, hemoglobin and oxygen breakup is really important, So sometimes these heartbreaks are really important in order to grow in life, right? So kids, see, where there is high partial pressure of oxygen, low partial pressure of CO2, lesser hydrogen ion, low temperature at the alveoli. So the factors are all favorable for the formation of oxyhemoglobin. So yes, they are patching up association and forming the oxyhemoglobin. Easy, no? So this is how you have to sum up everything in a nice way. So kids, next thing that's given here, whereas in the tissues means right shift. So where obviously oxygen will be less because oxygen is utilized by tissue itself. CO2 is produced by tissue in the reaction. And what is that reaction? C6H2, H12O6 in presence of oxygen oxidized to form CO2 plus water and plus energy. That energy will be stored in the form of ATP, which you will see in your respiration botany chapter, right? So kids, say higher temperature, all these conditions are favorable for dissociation of oxygen, breaking up to form the oxyhemoglobin. So that means from the oxyhemoglobin, this is the oxyhemoglobin, they are breaking up hemoglobin and oxygen, dissociating them, right? So this clear indicates that oxygen gets bound to the hemoglobin in the lungs. So it is very much clear to us that oxygen bind with the hemoglobin in the lungs, and they are dissociated, they are breaking up in the tissues. No? So it's so simple. And see, they have given the other line, which is so incomplete. Why? Because kids will, a lot of the question will come in your head. Every 100 ml of oxygenated blood can deliver only 5 ml of oxygen. What does it mean? Every 100 ml of oxygenated blood can deliver around 5 ml of the oxygen to the tissue under normal physiological condition. Now, question will come in your head, 100 ml oxygenated blood giving the 5 ml to the tissue in the, under normal physiological means during the rest or when we are doing the normal work, right? When we are not doing exercise. So question will be like, okay, 5 ml is given to the tissue, then how much oxygen actually present in 100 ml oxygenated blood? because this is incomplete information. So this will be completed in this sense. 100 ml oxygenated blood carries 20 ml oxygen. So kids, 100 ml oxygenated blood carries around 20 ml oxygen, and out of the 20 ml during normal condition, normal physiological condition means when our body is at rest or doing the normal work, right? So during normal physiological function, 5 ml oxygen is given to tissues. Nice, very nice. So you just reduce 5 ml from the 20 ml in the blood, right? So 100 ml blood carrying 20 ml. Out of that, 5 ml is given to tissue for utilization. And out of that, you'll be like 15 ml is left unused. Approximately 14.4 ml. You'll be like, where is the 0.6 ml? So 0.6 ml oxygen is utilized by the WBC also, right? By the blood cells also, like WBC. So let's consider that 0.6 utilized by the blood cells also. So approximately 14.4 ml oxygen is left unused in the blood, which act as reserve in the body. Reserve, you'll be like, why we required reserve? Obviously, this reserve is for the strenuous condition, when our body is in the stress, when lack of oxygen there in the body during exercise, right? So during exercise, what happened? The amount to in the normal condition, only 5 ml oxygen is given out of 20 ml. But during strenuous condition, 15 ml is given to tissues. Yes, when you're doing exercise, your tissues required 15 ml, metabolic tissues required 15 ml oxygen. So that reserve will be acting, this act as a reserve for the strenuous situation. Okay. So kids, this is the complete NCERT line, which you have to understand nicely. And then, so see, I have just made this interpretation. Suppose this is the artery bringing oxygenated blood. 100 ml oxygenated blood carries 20 ml oxygen. Out of 20 ml oxygen, 5 ml is given to tissues. And, 0.6 ml used by the tissue, used by these WBCs also. Approximately 14.4 ml left unused in the deoxygenated blood now, right? So means after oxygen is utilized by tissue, it will be converted into deoxygenated blood in the veins, right? So this is the concept. So this is the complete concept, and this is how you have to read NCERT line. The other contradiction in the NCERT line over here. So kids, see, they have just drawn this beautiful diagram in locomotion and movement and locomotion chapter. And when you will see this paragraph of the axial skeleton, what they wrote over here. So see, they are like, okay, skull, the skull, this whole skull is composed of two set of bones. Okay, two set of bones. Very nice. What are those two set of bones? Cranial and facial. So we know that cranium having the 8 bones and facial having approximately 14 bones. Oh yeah, 14 bones. So total 22 bones are present in the two set of the bones. One thing is clear. It's given in NCERT. Now you read the other line. Okay, so it's given like what is the cranium having the 8 bones in them and hard protective outer covering, cranium for the brain. The facial region is made up of 14 skeletal elements which form the front part of the skull. Yeah, we know front part of the skull. This is the cranium bone. And a single U-shaped bone called hyoid. So you can see the hyoid over here at the base of the pharynx, at the base of the buccal cavity. And it is also included in the skull. So they are like, first of all, if they ask you if they ask you this question in the NEET in this way, that skull is composed of 2 set of bones. And what are those 2 set of bones or set of bones? So you will write down skull and cranium this cranium and facial bone total 22. But when they ask you total bones in the skull, so hyoid bone also in the next line, they have involved hyoid bone also in 22 in the skull. And each middle ear contain 3 tiny bones, malleus, incus, stapes, collectively called ear ossicles. So they are also the part of the skull. They have taken it in the part of the skull. So that means 3 in one bone, 3 in one ear, 3 in other ear, total 6. So that means how many bones are there in the skull? 29 total bones. But initially NCERT is like skull composed 2 set of the bones. And here students get confused generally. So skull having the facial bone, cranium bone, hyoid and 3, the 6 ear or ficus. That's all. This is the skull. So this is how you have to read NCERT. And if you will see the previous year questions from these topics itself, you would be able to see that yes, this is how exactly we have to do, right? So kids, I am sure that it's very, very clear to you that how to read NCERT. In case you have any doubt, want to share anything, please write down in the comment box. We are always there with you. Have a great day. Study well.